That's how it looks. I'd like to move this switch a bit further out generally, replacing the brushes. I see it looks pretty decent, actually. Listen, what worries me is welcome to the Tool Academy. Moving on with DeWALT. Listen, I've read a few comments. I noticed you were asking about the DWE4257 grinder. This is generally a flagship model, let's say, with a brush motor from DeWALT. Listen, I haven't had much contact with these devices because although there are quite a few on the market, I don't know, maybe they just don't break down that often since they rarely come to us. From time to time, the guys do some maintenance tasks on them, but I haven't really dealt with them much myself, so I'm happy to take a look at how it looks. Generally, I always thought this grinder cost around 600 zlotys, but I happened to find it online once. Imagine, for 4,500. Great price, really fantastic actually. So I clicked, the courier delivered it, and this is it. The machine arrived in this packaging. Well, I bought it online, obviously, but the device is original. I've already opened it and checked. The labeling looks like this, so I don't know if the wholesaler repacked it or if the manufacturer has gone even more eco-friendly than Apple, which famously removed chargers from their phones. Some kind of, let's say, replacement packaging. But okay, you don't cut with the box, so it doesn't matter. What's inside? An extra handle. There's no vibration damping here, but it's very nicely rubberized, so it's a very solid handle. Cool. A classic guard and a second metal guard that protects the front of the cutting disc. Nice because it's a second solid metal one, so that's cool. The wrench that DeWALT uses to unscrew the disc in this shape. Some papers and the device itself. Listen, at first glance it's a beast, right? The device is powerful, 1500 watts. Big, heavy, strong. It looks very solid. This machine also comes in a KT version, meaning the index at the end of the model number tells us the device is for concrete grinding. So 1500 watts, speed control, and it comes with a disc and a bale handle held at the top. We'll show it to you in the catalog in a moment or paste it in here somewhere. Well, the manufacturer must be confident in this machine if they've factory adapted it for concrete grinding. It must be very powerful. From my service experience, I don't recall us replacing armatures in these devices very often. That's a bit strange to me, actually, because there are very few ventilation holes here. The ventilation holes are designed differently here than with other manufacturers. We have the intake through here, but from the top, right? And it flows through the middle and exits through the top here. Let's see what the construction looks like inside. I'm curious if there are any special channels inside to keep it well ventilated because, well, they look quite sparse. I'd even say these channels look covered at first glance. There aren't any dust flaps or anything like that here. The cord? Well, the cord is generally probably a 1. Yes, the cross-section is 2x1. As for the length, it'll probably be 3 or 4 meters. We'll verify that in a moment, guys. The device is a classic brushed model. It's equipped with a speed controller. On the label, we have information from 2,800 to 10,000 revolutions per minute. Besides that, the label has info like the manufacturer DeWALT model DWE4257, power supply 230 volts, 50 Hz, 1500 watts, disc diameter 125, rotation speed as I mentioned from 2,800 to 10,000, spindle thread mounting M14 standard. Listen, made in India, so it's not a Chinese device. Okay, let's see how much cord there actually is, but I think quite a bit. It'll be about 4 meters. Wow, that's a lot of cable. Nice, long, soft, a rubbery cord like that, so it's cool. We even have some marking here, Hangzhou Xiang. Well, let's look at the machine in the catalog. Maybe we'll find something more interesting here. There's basically nothing here that we wouldn't read on the label. Power, speed, and so on. Well, we have the weight, which will verify 2.5 kilograms, and this is the weight with the disc guard. We'll mount it and weigh it. What else is worth mentioning? We have, just like with the cordless DCG 405 machine, a quick clamping nut. This nut is very nice, absolutely. The description informs us that the motor windings are embedded in epoxy resin jet stream cooling system, cooling the motor. So this is generally some intentional patent. Anti-vibration system, quadruple electronics, restart protection, soft start, overload protection and speed stabilization, electronic clutch protecting the user and the machine, lockable switch for continuous operation. So this is that slide switch. We also have similar versions with a paddle switch. They probably have about 1400 watts and don't have rotation speed adjustment, but generally similar. So what? Let's weigh it. Check if the revolutions match the manufacturer's declaration on this latest generation disc of ours from the calendar. Let's measure the temperature, and then we'll go to the workshop. Listen, weight-wise, 2.7 kilograms. If we take away this cord, because here it's not really clear how we're supposed to weigh it. We have the guard mounted, the handle removed. 2.4 kilograms. Cool, everything matches up perfectly. Let's check the RPMs. Listen, first let's try to measure the rotational speed at the lowest setting, turning it down to 1. Well, listen, I think we found the first grinder that actually holds these specs well. At the lowest RPM, it had more than the manufacturer claimed. At the highest RPM, it was only short by 200. So let's just say the factory specs are accurate, it's okay. Listen, let's move on to temperature. Let's warm up the machine and measure it. Listen, let's take a look inside this device, see what's in there. Let's see how we can replace the cord and the brushes. Now, this is generally very important because for many people on a construction site, things fall, break, cords get cut, or brushes need replacing. Let's see how the manufacturer handled it in this case. First, we need to unscrew this cover. 1 bolt, a screw actually, a longer one, and these 3 elements. We take off the cover and see something like this. Electronics, the speed controller. Oh, maybe this way. The housing is in 2 halves. Alright, so that's what it looks like. Listen, what worries me right off the bat is how these wires are strangely squeezed. I didn't unscrew it before, unless someone was here before me, but I doubt it. Well, damn, it looks pretty bad. There are a lot of cables here, and it's like they don't have their own place. Replacing the brushes. I see it's fairly decent. Angled connectors positioned at a 45-degree angle are used here. One thing to keep in mind is that generally this spring should usually be able to be flipped over to the side. However, in this particular design that is not necessarily the case, so it actually makes it a little bit harder to do so. We have to lift it with one hand and slide out the brushes. Well, let's say we managed to flip the spring to this side, but it's not particularly convenient. In other machines, it looks much better. Well, the brushes are large overall. For a small angle grinder, these brushes are quite big, so that's how it looks. Okay, let's move on to the cord. To dismantle a cord like this, I suspect I have to unscrew this cord clamp first, and what do we see next? Well, listen, there's quite a surprise here because generally... Oh my goodness! Alright then. From what I can see here, I think I have to slide the switch out completely, so... Okay, I need to slide it up somehow. That strip is bending quite a bit there. Honestly, I don't really know if I'm going to break it or not, but, well, you know, there's just no other way around it. And what? This wire is on a spade connector. I need to remove this connector. I can't remove this connector because those yellow wires are holding it from the other side, so it won't slide off. I have to unscrew the bolt. I'll try to gently slide this switch back in here so I don't break it, but just look at how this looks. Alright, and this part is a real mess because what's the point of removing this connector? When the second wire goes to the interference suppression capacitor. This capacitor goes to the second pin of the switch, and this third wire goes to the ground. Oh my god. I'd like to slide this switch out a bit further in general, but in this situation, I have to unplug the wires all the way from here, see? Try to straighten it out a bit. Oh, because I'm afraid this strip will eventually break. Alright, let's say we've got this wire freed up. Listen, this is just absurd. I've never seen anything like this before. To shorten this wire, I don't know, I'd basically have to cut it where it's damaged and solder it, put on some heat shrink tubing or do something like that. Or maybe use some electrical connectors, but I don't know if I'll have room to cram them into this housing because it looks like this from the factory and I suspect the wire comes in this configuration. I'm curious how much this wire costs, but we'll check that later. And what do we see next? Speed controller. It looks something like this. Here we have the wires with hot glue. This is factory made. Please see that this is factory made. Some kind of protection. Okay, maybe I won't pull this out. Okay, to get it out, I had to remove this hot glue. I'll find a glue gun somewhere and dab it back on, but... well, that's how it looks. This is what the grinder looks like after gutting everything. I'll be honest, you very rarely come across such spaghetti-like solutions. Moving on. Let's try to get to the gearbox. Listen, in this case, the gearbox is held together by as many as 6 screws. Well, listen, this is what it looks like. There's plenty of grease. It's really packed in there, as you can see. Even though it's loaded with grease, as you can see. The gearbox is dry. Moving on. Okay, let's maybe deal with the stator first. At first glance, the stator is very well protected with some kind of epoxy. Let's try to knock it out of the housing. It's worth noting that it's not held by any screws. It's just pressed in. And that's how it looks. As for the coating itself, notice that this coating is, man, well, I don't know what to call it. Thin? Poor? Because while it is coated, you can see that this varnish is like this in these places. For example, uncoated, scratched. The wires themselves coming out of the coils, they have heat shrink tubing here, but they end, in these places. So they'll be moving around quite a bit here, rubbing against each other, and in a moment it'll short out. I don't know, I don't like this design. As for the housing, well, the housing is fine. I don't generally see anything wrong here. What can I say about this rotor? We have a damper. Oh, here the rotor insulation is even crumbling in some places. Rear bearing damper. Bearing class RS607. The rotor has, similar to what Makita has, these masses that hold the windings on both sides, where the pins are connected to the commutator. It's quite nicely potted with resin here. Well, the rotor itself is so-so. I don't have any major complaints here. We probably have a magnetic ring built in here. So let's remove this rotor and see what the upper bearing looks like. Upper bearing in RS class. And listen, there's quite a big surprise here. NSK 608 bearing. A very high quality bearing. Maybe I won't take it out because I don't feel like digging around in this grease. I can only tell you that down here we have a needle bearing, and in the gearbox we have a ball bearing. It's in RS class generally, trust me. I don't want to... Actually, no, man, I don't want that. Don't trust me, check it. The inside of the gearbox looks like this. Gear wheel, large, kind of funny, with such a high collar. We have a 6001 Chinese bearing here. We won't see NSK here anymore, unfortunately. And just a bit of empty space. The spindle is quite long. That's how it looks, guys. Let's also remove the rear bearing. As for this rotor, I see we don't have a center hole on either side. So when it comes to turning this rotor or later servicing, it might be a bit harder. Alright guys, let's go to the balancer. We'll see how much effort the manufacturer put into balancing the rotor, and then we'll try to put it back together, but you'll have to wait a while because connecting all this is just a nightmare. Listen, it's not a tragedy. Generally, it's unbalanced at the worst support, meaning near the commutator. It could be improved overall, because for this support, a larger imbalance on the commutator will cause vibrations, premature bearing damage, and, well, brush sparking. Let's try running the measurement again. Well, basically the measurement matched, maybe the imbalance deepened a bit, but overall it's not a tragedy. I'll try to improve this rear surface, weigh it, and then we'll go assemble the machine. Alright guys, by some miracle, I put this machine back together. It was a very tough adventure. I don't really have much experience assembling this DeWALT. These wires are just a nightmare. So, design-wise, if your cord breaks on a construction site, good luck. The brushes are fine, but this cord, generally one person, several people must have thought about this. As for the parts, guys, our dear cord costs a mere 80 zlotys. As for the speed controller, 183 zlotys. The switch is 38 zlotys. Brushes are 34 zlotys. Rotor is 155. Stator is 155. Small gear is 23. Large gear, wait for it, 73 zlotys. Well, parts are expensive. Parts are definitely expensive. It's very rarely worth repairing this device. I think brushes, bearings, and that's it. Some replacement cord, we'd have to improvise, solder it inside, then we could manage at a normal price. Well, I bought it for as much as you see. I pulled the price from somewhere on the internet. A very good price overall for a grinder. The grinder itself is big and powerful. Well, from experience, I remember we sold quite a few, but they don't really come back. These rotors don't burn out. From a user's perspective, it's okay. As for the mechanical side, well, the electronics blew me away. Part prices are high, I must say, so it's rather unprofitable to repair for major issues. So that's how it looks when it comes to this machine. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and remember to give us a boost. It really matters to us, so we can record more interesting things for you, and I'll see you in the next video.